The members are really, they're the most important thing. They're kind of the skeleton, if you will. Without the membership, we don't exist. We don't have a purpose. We don't have anything.
You know, I say this all the time. Growth and change are inevitable. And as long as we're changing for the positive, meaning we're growing, I think it's a good thing and not going the opposite direction where we have alligators back in the Vinoy, right?
I will say that the businesses in the Edge last year got just demolished in terms of revenue without that coming in. The thing I love about law and money so much, and it sounds greedy when I say it like this, but the thing I love about it is it's totally made up. It only works because we believe in it. And one of the things I started realizing is that our clients, they don't need someone who just knows how to do one thing. They need someone who knows how to do a lot of things.
Nothing matters.
That's exactly it, right? Earth is going to die, the sun's going to implode or explode, whatever. Nothing we do today matters.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to Talkin St. Pete. I am your host, Ryan Bogden. Before we get into today's amazing guest, I want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Bogden Homes and Keller Williams St. Pete. So if you need any real estate needs in the greater Tampa Bay area, we are here to help and facilitate you. Or if you're an agent at another brokerage and you need more assistance selling more homes, find our contact information in the description below and we'll be there to help you out. And now, the real reason we're here, the man, the myth, the legend. I got Doug Jackson, founding attorney of the law firm of Douglas G. Jackson and the president of the Edge District. Wait, I already knew I was going to mess that up, Doug. The president of the Edge District Business Association. Mouthful. You're the president of the Edge District. In my eyes, that's most important.
All right. Well, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to leave everyone disappointed with that setup. I don't know if I really amount to man, myth, legend, but thank you. That's first time I've been introduced by that. We'll see if I can live up to that.
Well, I think you are, man. You make a presence. You know, you're known around town. You're doing amazing things. You're involved in. I don't know how you do it all. Like I do a lot, but I feel like you might do more.
Maggie would tell me I don't know how to say no, so that's probably true.
All right, fun. So are you, let's just start from the top, because I think with wearing all these hats, are you a local to St. Pete originally?
Originally, I grew up in Colorado.
Got it. Saw you got your bachelor's there. Yeah.
I was actually born at MacDill Air Force Base, which is kind of funny. Remember nothing of that. Grew up in Colorado. Went to Colorado State University. Went down here to Stetson for law school. Fell in love with St. Pete. No connections were here really. I mean, weirdly, I was born not far, but I've got no family or anything. Again, fell in love with St. Pete, stayed here, got my license here, started practicing law here, then eventually opened up my own practice and really wanted to really kind of be ingrained with St. Pete and help steer it a little bit too. Make sure that we have the culture that makes us so special, and as we grow, we maintain that culture. So that's why I do so much, Ryan.
Well, yeah, no, I love that. I mean, the culture here is everything, right? And so family is military?
My dad was military. Yeah, he taught at the Air Force Academy most of his career.
Got it.
And he had a PhD in psychology, so they kept him there. So it wasn't your typical military family where we moved around most of the time. Mm-hmm. All of my memories really began in Colorado until I moved after college to go to law school here. So, yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. So we'll say you've been in St. Pete for enough time to watch it change.
Moved here in 2009.
So you've seen the evolution.
You talk to the St. Pete natives and
I know. I mean, they got some throwback stories where downtown was really gnarly.
Yeah, the Vinoy was boarded up, fenced up. I heard one guy was telling me they snuck in there. There were alligators in the basement because there was pools of water and stuff, which is hard to believe now.
Very hard to believe because it's a beautiful place. Okay, so how does one? So what's involved? Because I want to get into your law career for sure, but I'm so intrigued because the Edge District has been blowing up. What's involved in being a part of that association?
Well, it depends. It depends how much you want to be involved, right? It's kind of like anything, I think, really. You can be as involved as you want. I encourage everyone to be more involved. I wasn't as involved with things when I first moved here and first started practicing law. And the more I got involved, the more I want to be involved. So with the Edge District Business Association, we've got, it's really kind of an open ecosystem. The Edge District, it's funny because a lot of people don't know the boundaries of it.
Yeah, what is the boundaries, Doug?
So
Help us.
It's 16th Street to MLK, or MLK to 16th Street, depending on how you want to look at it, and First to First. So it's a pretty small district, but as you said, it's blowing up. It's going to be, I think, the densest district in the densest county in Florida. So in 3 years, I think, is the projection of that. So it's blowing up really fast. It's a small district, but it's got a lot going on. And what's I think is so cool about the Edge, I don't really know exactly why it was called the Edge. I speculate, and I've said this before and no one's corrected me, that it's kind of on the edge of downtown. But what's so cool about the Edge right now is that it's not just on the edge of downtown, it's on the edge of Grand Central, it's on the edge of the gas plant district. That basically puts it right smack dab in the middle of everything, and which I think is pretty cool.
It was once on the edge.
We're still on the cutting edge.
It's on the cutting edge, yeah. Well, what I like about the Edge District is how much local business there is in there, and how important that is, right? Because we talked about keeping the culture of St. Pete. All those, the frontage on Central specifically right now, right? I'm sure First Ave North. I think there used to be way more businesses on First Ave North back in the day. I did a little walking history tour for St. Pete. But right now on Central, what we love to see is not big box.
Right.
And that we have these mom and pop shops. And that keeps the culture of St. Pete. So what does the Edge District talk about, and how do we maintain that?
Oh, thanks. And let me go back. I don't know that I answered your last question very well. I got excited about the Edge and just wanted to
We
talk
get
about
excited,
how,
Doug. We get excited.
But yeah, so the Edge, the way it's set up, really, so the Edge District Business Association, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. And so we have an executive director, Nicole Waters, who really does most of the heavy lifting. I'm just the president of the board, so mostly I look good, and apparently I get invited to talk about the Edge on podcasts. So thanks again, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then under that, I mean, the way I like to think about it, any kind of membership organization, which is what it is, the members are really, they're the most important thing. They're kind of the skeleton, if you will. Without the membership, we don't exist. We don't have a purpose. We don't have anything. And then what we have is, we've talked about Nicole Waters, the executive director. She's kind of the voice, if you will, of the Edge. I mean, she really is the one who's usually on the front end and kind of directing things. The board of directors, I like to think of it as kind of the brains. We try to set the policy, try to put it in the right direction. But maybe the biggest driving force is really the committees of the Edge. That's what I like to think of as the muscle, if we're making some strange metaphor to the human body here. Mm-hmm. But I think it makes sense. And the muscle is what is able to really drive us forward. Now, nothing really works well without the other, but without the committees really driving us forward, we're not making much progress. And so we have 4 committees. Some of them meet jointly, and each one meets every single month. So we really go through a lot. And one of the things, I've been chair of the Economic Vitality Committee that meets jointly with the Design Committee. One of the big things we do there is try to work with the developers. We really try to invite the developers to talk to us and let us know what's going on. Just last night, actually, we had our first highly connected happy hour, which is the Diamond and Platinum members of the Edge, as well as the board, met to get together. And we met at the Moxie, the Sparrow, which is, I don't know if you've been up there, the rooftop.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm trying to get them to expand their hours because I think they're only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 5 to 11 or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. And Nick, who's one of the owners there of PTM, which is the property, he was saying, yeah, we had this design, and then we talked to the Edge, and they're like, no, that's not really like our standards. We want it like this. We want this cascade look so that there's more light that comes in. And they did it like that, and it turned out absolutely beautiful. So the developers that really work with us, I think they get a product that not only keeps the culture of St. Pete, but also the residents like it, versus the big box stores coming in. And now, luckily, there's St. Pete ordinances that try to keep the footprint small as well.
I know about that.
Yeah. So, and it gets, it's funny because it gets kind of bigger the further out of downtown you move. Mm-hmm. But that really prohibits a lot of the big box chains because they want more.
They want more frontage.
They want more
So
frontage.
for those who don't know, there's a ordinance or regulation of how much what would we call it? How much frontage, square footage, not square footage, but how much frontage you can have. There's no better word for it.
I mean, it's not square footage because it's just about.
Right. It's just the front. It's just how big. It's just how big.
Across can it go?
Yeah. How big is your storefront? That by keeping that small, big box does not like that. It kind of keeps the bugs away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now I will say we're starting to see some more franchises come in.
I realized
we don't have a lot of really large franchises for the most part, but what we also try to do, because franchise is a little bit different than corporate, and that's that the franchisees, the owner of this individual franchise, usually live, work, and play here in St. Pete, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we try to do is really get them involved, because a franchise owner can act like a corporate owner, or they can act like one of the small business owners that we want to see in St. Pete. And as long as they're acting like one of the small business owners we want to see in St. Pete, that still helps preserve our culture. It still helps bring in jobs. It helps, and as much as I'm going to be a little reckless, I probably shouldn't say this. We do have a lot of tourism. We've got a lot of visitors, and I think visitors, they love seeing all the unique things, but sometimes they want a little familiarity too. So some brand names they may recognize may not be a bad thing. So I love these guys, Tony and Dahlia. They own the UPS store. They're a franchise.
Is that who won at the Good Burger?
It is who won at the Good Burger.
Yeah,
and they're Edge members too. And
amazing.
It's funny because their stores aren't in the Edge, but that's part of what makes the Edge so edgy, so cool, is that we believe in an open ecosystem. So if you do business in the Edge, even if you don't have a business in the Edge, you can be a member of the Edge. And Tony and Dahlia are very, very active in the community. They won a Good Burger Award. And so you think of the UPS store, you wouldn't think of individuals, but they make sure that they bring as much community as they can to the Edge, to St. Pete. So while I tend to not like the franchises as much, if the owners are doing that and working with us, absolutely we want to work with them, because it does help them build a model versus building something from scratch as well.
Yeah, I love the way you said that. I think that's really important because, there's a few places that recently opened up in the Edge that I'm like, I don't know if I love that. I walked past one of those in Philly. And in the same token, it's not like a McDonald's.
Right.
And nothing against McDonald's, but everything against McDonald's in the same breath.
We call everything that looks similar McMansions.
Right.
That's your industry.
Yeah.
We don't want those either, right?
No, we don't want those. But we do not. What keeps downtown unique is the fact that you don't walk by anything that you see. And I love that there's committees and boards and all these things to make sure that we're keeping it like that. And I think the Edge is doing a great job at it. I worry about other parts of downtown as some of these new buildings go up. You have a lot more commercial space on the bottom. The rents are higher. Who can afford these rents? And not that I say this all the time. Growth and change are inevitable. Well, change is inevitable. Growth is not. And as long as we're changing for the positive, meaning we're growing, I think it's a good thing, and not going the opposite direction to where we have alligators back in the Vinoy, right?
Thanks for saying this, because I talk about this all the time, and I'm sure you hear about this in real estate. People get upset about the growth, and I talk about, hey, look, most cities either they grow or they shrink. It's really hard to stay the same.
You can't. You can't.
Yeah, and if you're growing, okay, that is generally good, especially if you're doing it the right way. If you're shrinking, for a city, that is one of the worst things that can happen, because now you've got vacancies, you've got dilapidated properties, you've got, and no one wants to move into those. So it just becomes worse. It becomes a cyclical effect. It's not like the buildings go away when you shrink, right? So now you've got the vacant buildings. I mean, I shouldn't use this as an example. I've never been there, but people talk about how Detroit looked after a decade ago or whatever, right? And how many vacant buildings there are. And that is the exact opposite we want for St. Pete. So because I tend to agree with you, I don't think we can create that balance where we're not growing or shrinking. Growth is good as long as we do it in the right ways. And I think, to your point, I'm going to presume what you were going to say, some of these high rises and the problem is, again, when these guys move in and they don't integrate with our community. I mean, I've heard, and you probably know more about this. I've heard 400 Central, only about 25% of those people are actually living there. Most of them are just using it as a vacation home. So they're probably not integrating with St. Pete. I've heard about some people from these businesses that are moving from New York that over the weekend they fly back to New York City to hang out with their friends. They're not living, working, and playing here. They're only working here and barely living here.
Yeah, I don't want to. I've heard the 400 project is starting to become a little interesting now as we're at completion. I really hope they crush it with the retail that's opening on the bottom, because that's going to do a lot for the brand, especially. My personal opinion, this is Ryan speaking, not even Talkin St. Pete as a brand, but my opinion is there wasn't enough consultation done on how that building should look. It kind of sticks out in a funny way, right? Versus what you guys are doing in the edge, right? Keeping everything edgy.
Right.
Which
and thank you for the disclaimer. You beat me as a lawyer to it, which is embarrassing. These opinions are my own and not necessarily indicative of the opinion of the Edge as a whole,
right?
Unless I state otherwise.
Right.
But so yeah, I mean, we again, and I can say I think on behalf of the Edge, we love the development. We love working with the developers, and we do want to keep it as local as possible. We want to keep it. We want to make sure that the money is really staying in St. Pete and not going elsewhere. We want to make sure that we have that community feel and really kind of preserve, again, I mean, if you read the mission, it essentially says, hey, we want to make the Edge vibrant and we want to preserve the culture of the Edge.
I love that. So what's the Edge working on now? Is anything in the hopper or anything fun happening that we can talk about?
Yeah, sure. We have a lot in the hopper, and it's interesting because sometimes it just feels, I mean, I'm in it so much that I forget some of the things we're doing because it feels.
I get that. When you stack wins, it's
you're making a little progress.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you, so yesterday we were in a city council committee meeting, and one of the city council members says, hey, look, if you're just walking through downtown and you start walking through the Edge, there's just something kind of different about it. There's a little bit different of a feel. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit. That's not an exact quote. But and I think that's right. And let me back up a little bit, because we have what are recognized as 4 Main Street districts in St. Petersburg. The Edge is one of them. Grand Central is one of them. The Deuces Live is one of them. And Skyway, the Skyway Marina District is one of them. And so these are, they're kind of special categorized districts as well. And so some of the things we need to have are the committees we talked about, the structure we talked about, which I think really helps drive it forward. So development is always an ongoing thing. And no, we don't have complete control over the developers, but again, we try to invite them to the table and talk with them and work as partners with them. We're not against development. We're for development. We just want it developed in the right way. So that's one thing. Another big thing we do is Halloween on Central. We do that jointly with Grand Central. I think I heard it's like the 3rd largest Halloween celebration in the nation.
Is that true?
That's what I've heard.
That's
what I need to verify this.
Yeah, we'll fact check that.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's true.
No, but we're going to claim it right now because it sounds cool.
Yeah, which I think would probably make us the biggest in Florida at least. So anyway, I think that's pretty cool. So we've got over 100,000 people that attend this from our estimates, drone footage, and things like that. People come from out of state sometimes, so that's neat. Obviously, not technically the Edge, but hopefully something happens with the gas plant. We are very big advocates of some kind of development there. We were in support of the Ray's Hines, and I am speaking on behalf of the Edge now. The Edge was in support of the Ray's Hines development. Obviously, that fell through. That didn't make us very happy. It is nice to have the Rays back in town because our businesses, for now, yes. I will say that the businesses in the Edge last year got just demolished in terms of revenue without that coming in. And some of our Canadian resident snowbirds, they're not coming down as much as they did. So last summer was just brutal for many of our businesses down there. But so yeah, we want something to happen there, because when the Rays aren't in town, the Trop is basically an empty parking lot. So
man, Doug, I was gonna go here, and now you brought it up, and now we got to pull the curtain back on that, because man, what a controversy. And it's I'm lucky to be able to ask the mayor directly these questions on the next episode. So
I know, and real quick, Ryan, because I really wanted to be episode 100.
yes, I know you did.
And you said I've got the mayor, so I'm episode 99.
You're 99.
So
You are the opener.
okay.
You are the opener.
I'm the opener. I was going to say end of an era. I mean, now you're at 100, and that's a new era.
No, that's
right,
true. You're the end of an era,
right.
but you're the opener for episode 100.
Oh, it's sort of like the edge. I'm on the edge of
You were
everything.
dude. It kind of worked out beautifully. I really like the way it worked out. 100 was yours until the mayor's office reached out, and I was like, well, kind of hard to top that, Doug. I'm sorry, you're not there yet.
I know. I need a bigger position.
Okay, where do we go with the Rays? One, I'm behind a couple months on latest news, but last I heard, the Rays are finishing out their lease, which I think is 3 to 5 years. Do you know the exact number?
2029.
2029.
They are.
Yep.
They
3 years.
Plan to be out by 2029. They plan to be in a new stadium.
And
by
how
2029.
the heck that happened? Like, what happened? How do we go from this amazing deal to Hurricanes to nothing to now Rays are leaving town?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this is my individual opinion.
Yeah, well, this is all of our
This
opinions
is-
right now, but
this
this is what this is about. I'm here to
speculation,
get the views.
right?
Let's crank it up.
So yeah, I mean, the deal was in place. Well, we have been working on a deal for like 20 years. Basically, we've been trying to get a new stadium, right? We've been trying to get. And it's funny when you go way back in history. I didn't even realize this. This was again before I was here. We built a stadium without a team. And obviously, there's, again, way before I was here, a lot of problems with that and the place we built it and the people that we displaced. But so then it was the Thunderdome, which actually is a really cool name. I think I like that. But and we had I think it was the Lightning. We had the hockey team there for a little while, which I didn't realize.
Okay, cool.
And then we finally got baseball. We got the baseball with the Rays, and this was actually several years, in my understanding, after the dome was built, which also apparently the Edge District used to be called the Dome District, by the way. If you look at our articles of incorporation, we're still called the Dome District Business Association Inc., I think, and the Edge District is the DBA that we use.
Nice.
So that's funny. I'm pushing for actually changing the name. Right now they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like we want to identify as the Edge District, not the Dome District. Right. But especially with who knows what's going to happen with the Dome. So back to your point, though. So I think looking at the history is interesting because then since I've been here, the Rays were basically, and I think I mentioned it, but I came here in 2009. The Rays were basically looking to move to Tampa. And I joked, but I'm not sure that I was wrong. It felt a little like the movie Major League. Where they were like trying to make attendance low,
yeah, right?
And then, God, when was it? Probably 2017. I don't know, somewhere around there. They finally said, "Okay, we're done looking in Tampa. We're gonna make this home." And so, what they did, what I noticed, at least, best of my recollection, because I remember sitting up in the 300 level sections. And as soon as they did that, they seemed to close that off and really push the fans down and try to make it look good for the camera, which makes sense. You want to go where people are. You don't want to go to an empty stadium.
Right.
So I'm going, okay, well, this is kind of wild, right? So I'm like, well, this is good. I like the Rays. I like them here. This is before I was really in the business community, before I understood how much revenue they actually bring into the business. And then we had this deal under Mayor Kreisman that was basically ready to go. Then we elected Mayor Welch. He pulled the rug out from under that deal. I'm not well versed enough to know if that was a good call or a bad call. What I do know is some of the talks that I've been in are, hey, it's not a good look for developers when you have a deal, then the rug gets pulled out from under you because there's a lot of money that goes into the RFPs, into the design. I mean, they can spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to even get to that point before there's a shovel in the ground, before anything. So anyway, then we had the Rays-Hines deal, which honestly I thought looked like this amazing project. I think it was going to really bring a lot of vibrancy to the gas plant area. I think it had an ability to connect the communities south of there as well. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. I don't think there's going to be a perfect deal, but it was it was progress, and I think it was tremendous progress. Okay, so now with the background, we'll get up to your question. If you haven't been able to tell, Ryan, I love to talk. So
no, Doug, this is good. We're telling a story.
So we get up to where we got the Raise Hines deals. Everything's looking good. We got to get it through City Council. That seems like that's the toughest one. The Pinellas County Commission, they're fine. They're good. So it's a little bit of a snag with Pinellas City Council. They've postponed it a few times. Everybody's on board. I mean, the Edge is writing letters of support. The St. Pete Chamber of Commerce, I'm on the board of that as well. They're writing letters of support. Chris Steinacher, the CEO and president of the chamber, he's speaking at City Council. I mean, everyone's doing everything to push this through because we believe this is just great for the community. Obviously, at that time, the complaints were, hey, it sounds expensive for the city. We could get more money if we just sold it for highest and best use. I never liked that argument because highest and best use is going to be high-rise condos. It's going to be more 400 Centrals. Doug Jackson individually, am not a big fan of the 400 Central condos. Versus this thing that's going to have green space, it's going to have museums, it's going to activate this whole community, in my opinion. And
I agree.
And being on the board of the Edge at the time, I wasn't the president then. I was on the board though. There's going to be this giant overflow and this just collaboration and this chemistry and symbiotic relationship between the Edge district and right next door the gas plant district. I mean, there's going to be people are going to park in the Edge, go to the gas plant. People are going to park in the gas plant, go to the Edge. So I'm very, very excited about it. And I think most of at least the business community, I think people that really kind of knew what was going on were excited about it. And again, it was kind of the city council. My understanding is the ones who were against it were like, we don't want to necessarily put all this money into it. So anyway, we do get that vote passed. And it feels like Groundhog's Day because, we're going to vote on it. We think we got it. Okay, they delay it. All right, we're going to vote on it again. We think we got it. So, all right, we get that passed. Great. And now we have Hurricane Helene, which I think most people remember that. And that was a wild one.
Devastating times.
Yeah, it was decently far off coast, and I don't think that people really understood how much impact it was going to have. And then I remember this once in a 50-year storm. So I luckily got through that with really no damage, and I'm going, all right, got 50 more years before I have to worry about this. And then 10 days later, we have Hurricane Milton come and rips the roof off the Trop, right? And which is wild to me because they were staging emergency responders there. That's
right.
And so
that didn't work.
That didn't work. Rips the roof off the Trop. Okay, now we've got this bigger problem. Oh, before we get there, I forgot about this. The county commission was supposed to vote, but their vote got delayed because of the hurricanes, right? And so the county commission, their vote was supposed to be a sure thing. The problem with it is now we've got elections, and now we've got new county commissioners there. And these county commissioners, it is not a sure thing. And so this delays the vote further. So it's up in the air. So we've got no roof on the Trop now. It's ultimately the city's responsibility because they own the lease, but it's going to take time to repair. So now the Rays are trying to figure out where to play. They know they're not going to be able to play in the Trop. Ultimately, what happened is Steinbrenner Field. They had to put money into that to revamp it, get up to MLB standards, but it's still an open air field. And I know that people like this idea of open air baseball. I think it is a great idea in northern states. I think it is a terrible idea in St. Petersburg because it's either A, going to be too hot, or B, going to be too rainy.
Yes.
And my understanding, and I'll say this, I made it to one game over in Tampa because I'm a St. Pete snob, and I'm like,
I don't cross the bridge, Doug.
Yeah,
I don't cross that bridge. Just talking St. Pete.
Yeah. So I made it to one game, but I heard that these games ran late because of the rain delays. I know that game, it was sweltering hot. But also, that stadium holds significantly fewer people. Mm-hmm. So even if they sold out, which, by the way, they didn't, so I still am like, how do you think Tampa's going to sell out when you guys can't sell out a small stadium? But I digress. So their revenue's way down. And obviously, they were kind of counting on the revenue to fund some of this big project because, yes, St. Pete was footing some of the bill, but the Rays were footing a significant portion too. The other thing, at least what that was claimed, was because we had another election, a presidential election, there was going to be a change in what was expected for tariffs. And so the Rays are saying, hey, this is going to increase our construction costs significantly. And they are saying now that that delay in the vote has made it so that the numbers don't work. They wanted to get started earlier. The counter to that was that, hey, under the agreement, we just had to get you in by March, and we're ahead of that. I don't know. I mean, obviously, everyone was devastated by the hurricanes. It impacted pretty much everyone. It impacted business. It impacted. I mean, a lot of these hotels on the beach. They took over a year to open.
It was brutal. It was brutal.
So now Stu Sternberg, who owns the Rays, wants to sell them. My speculation is that he wanted to kind of get out of this deal and sell it because the new owners gives them more flexibility, right? I mean, trying to relate this to your industry, if you live in an HOA or deed restricted community, you have a lot less flexibility than you do in just a single family unincorporated area, right?
Right.
So if you're going to sell it, maybe you can get a better deal if you give them more flexibility. I don't know. Again, total speculation. Anyway, it gets sold. I'm happy because the deal was dead. I'm thinking maybe the new owners are going to say, hey, let's revive this. Let's get something going. It turns out the new owners seem to have their eyes set on Tampa and only Tampa. There's also, I mean, I think this deal is going to be tough because Raymond James is looking for a new stadium, or the Bucks are the I think it's Benchmark now. It used to be Amalie. They want money, so
there's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving parts, and so how much money is the city of Tampa willing to pay? I don't know, but it doesn't seem to me that the Rays are even considering St. Pete as a secondary option. I've heard some rumors that if that doesn't work, Orlando. So that's extremely frustrating to me. I will say, because the firm has half-season tickets to the Rays, the Saturday games, and I've been trying to go to these things because as much as I'm frustrated, if we don't show support, there's no way we get the Rays.
Were you there opening day?
I was there opening day.
What a beautiful tribute to all the workers and everything that happened from the hurricanes and helping getting the Trop back together and just the community. I thought that was a moment. So to just like everything you said, right? I think if we go all the way back to the beginning of that story is without the Rays, my last number I heard, and we'll check this, is 1.2 million visitors a year into St. Pete for the Rays. That is a lot of commerce for the local businesses that surround Tropicana Field. What are we going to do to replace that amount of people and that income of all the businesses that are built around that kind of traffic? That's question number one. The fact that we lost the deal over all this, it's like a perfect storm, kind of.
But that metaphor works very well with two hurricanes factored in there.
Yeah, no, it does. But in the same, hurricanes delaying, like, okay, the roof blew off. So what? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Fix it. Yes, it costs some money. But why did that affect the whole deal? And that's everything you just explained, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And the politics behind it, and that's what I'm so intrigued. Like, there's rumors on the street about what Tampa did to get with the new owners, and whining and dining them to get them over there, and things like that. Like, why are we not as a city fighting harder to keep the rate? And maybe we're not. We are, and it's happening behind closed doors. But it doesn't. From the word on the street. And I was lucky enough to speak on the news twice about this. So I did some investigative journalism before I went on the news. And I made some calls around town to know who was in the know of this. And I'm not going to leak my sources, but I heard that from the city, things were just not happening. The fight wasn't there. And that's really sad. That's really sad because for St. Pete, the Rays bring culture, bring commerce, bring an energy over the summer like no other. Because honestly, the summers are downtime.
Yeah.
People don't it's too people aren't coming here from the north. So I'm excited to talk with the mayor about that matter because
I was going to say that seems like a great question for the mayor.
Yep.
And I don't know this to be true, but I think, well, let me just say, I'll back up. Practicing law, you think that you can find these rational outcomes, but personalities play a major, major factor.
ego is a thing in business that is can't be written on paper, huh?
It cannot. And yeah, when two parties do not get along and the channels of communication are not open, and I'm not saying they were or weren't, but it's hard to reach a deal when people aren't communicating, nor do they even really desire to reach a resolution. And again, I am not even going to speculate on what was happening. That would be a great question for the mayor in your next.
I can't wait. I'm just so curious because it's such a big deal. Like it's huge for the city. It's huge for the Edge district. It's huge for the gas plant district. Even the next development that comes there. What are you going to build or bring there that's going to bring 1.2 million people to the city every year?
That's the question, right? And I mean, look, we're going through these RFPs again. We've got, I think, 10. I think they're talking about narrowing it down to 3. And I'll be honest, I should probably be paying more attention than I am. But
we're exhausted. I'll speak for the people. We're exhausted of going through this because is that even going to happen?
Yeah.
Because now mayor's up for a re-election again, and
history already told us one mayor approved it, the next mayor pulled the rug.
Right. So we're like, this is all just like watching a movie. It's going to end, and then the next thing's going to come on. And it's like Netflix is going to say, "Are you ready for the next episode?" You know?
Yeah. I mean, I love some of these proposals. I really do. Some of them are really, really good. And any development is going to bring more people because right now, again, you look at the Edge district, and it's this narrow little strip, right? Mm-hmm. So if you get more business by expanding south into the gas plant district, you're going to get more overflow. But you're right. What is going to be the draw? I hope, and one of the things I loved about the Ray's-Heinz deal was thinking back to the pier. And that was another disaster, by the way. I'm happy we
finally...
It was
before my time, but I heard it was great.
Oh, man, we had something great, and then someone argued, I think, because it wasn't voted on properly or something. So then we went back to the drawing board, and it took what should have been a done deal again, several more years. But now you go to the pier at any time during the day, and there are people walking. There's a bunch of people there, and the old pier, it was a little bit reminiscent of the Trop now when the Rays aren't playing, right? Like, is this long roadway. There might be a couple people fishing, but that's about it, to this ugly upside-down pyramid. I mean, it's still weirdly iconic of St. Pete, but it was ugly. That's my personal opinion.
That's Doug's opinion. Yeah. I agree with you, though. I agree with you.
And then you'd go in there, and it was dead. I mean, there was nothing. The storefronts were empty, and that was it. And now you go there, and you see how these park spaces, these green spaces, can really activate an area. Mm-hmm. So my hope is that, again, I know that the same arguments are going to be, we could get more money for it, but I want the green spaces. I want the museums. I want to activate that area because there's going to be overflow. Because you talked about how many out-of-state people or out-of-town people come to watch the Rays. True, and that is very significant. But also, how many in-town people get out of their houses to come watch the race? And then before the game, they go to Ferg's. They were down. I know Mark Ferguson reported they were down 30% in revenue last year. And they had the capacity to do some cool things. Where they started concerts, like a little concert series.
Events and stuff like that there. Yeah,
Green Bench got devastated. Yep. I talked to the owner of Pizza Box, and
there's so much there, and I love that you said the Rays. It does more for the city than just the revenue. It creates culture, because if you were in the stadium, for anyone who's at opening day when they opened up with that, I mean, just looking around, like, when does the city get together this many people? And that's special. That's really special. And put the money aside. We're talk about, there's that. I brought this study up before. Harvard is doing that longevity study. And I think they're 70 or 80 years into it, and they found the number one factor into longevity is community, specifically the community that you have while you're in your 50s. And I look around and I go, wow, what an amazing community. And to bring them all together for the Rays baseball day, opening day is awesome. right? There's nothing else in St. Pete that brings that many people together.
No. We've got the Rowdies, but there might be a rumor that if the Rays leave, the Rowdies are leaving too.
Which
Same
would be dead. Like
I know.
the Rowdies are. I love the Rowdies. The Rowdies are here. The Rowdies are there. We kick the ball around. I mean, it's a good time. Honestly, I like going to a Rowdies game more than baseball. But what I felt in that stadium on opening day cannot be replicated. And I'm for it. Like if the redevelopment needs to happen, green space needs to be put in. I think of what's New York City without Central Park.
Right.
Right. You gotta like preserve.
I was really hoping that green space where 400 Central was, they're going to make into a Central Park. I digress, but and I will give the new ownership this. They seem to want to sell tickets. They seem to be dedicated to the fan experience, and it wasn't just. It was little things, but I did feel that they cared more about the fan experience in opening day. Back to your point, though, one of the things I think professional sports is really important. And I know there's all these studies on how much economic activity does it really bring. Well, we got to try it out without them for a year, and we saw it brings a lot of economic activity. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, I think you're right. One of the things is it puts us on the map. So I always talk about this. I'm like, everyone outside of here, Tampa, maybe Tampa Bay if we're lucky, Tampa Bay region if we're really lucky. Very few people know St. Petersburg. And I say, okay, do you guys know where Foxborough is? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why? Because there's a stadium there. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you wouldn't. You would know where Boston is. So baseball fans at least know where St. Petersburg is because there's a stadium here, right? So it puts us on a map. And I will say, from my own experience, when I'm looking at places to travel, I haven't traveled in a long time. I've been too busy, too involved in the community. But one of the things I look at is what do they have? And if they have a professional sports stadium, I'm going to think that's probably a cooler city than one that doesn't. The other thing is that culture you're talking about, right? Like, how does culture get created? We have something in common to talk about. You talk about, like, New York City, they've got the Yankees. You talk about Chicago, they've got the Cubs. You talk about Boston, they have the Red Sox. One thing that we don't realize is those teams have been there for generations. So, yes, we have a lot of people that come in, but this is a brand new team. And so what happens is it takes time because you got your loyalties. And the best way to be a fan is to have your parents be fans, right? And we are just getting to the first generation of Rays fans right now. The kids that grew up not knowing anything except their local team. And we're going to pull that from them. And yes, there's more Yankees fans than Red Sox fans. Yeah, or Yankees fans than Rays fans. There's more Red Sox fans than Rays fans. They've been
around. I mean,
they've been around.
Yeah.
They travel here. But if we keep this up, we're going to have more Rays fans than Yankees
I love
fans.
that you brought that up with the thing because I moved here from Philadelphia, and anyone who knows Philadelphia sports, I mean, you have 3 stadiums. You have the Mecca.
Well, hold on, let me shake your hand because we got this far into an interview without a Philadelphia person mentioning Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And you said Philadelphia. You didn't even say Philly. You're one of a kind from Philly, I think.
One of a kind, I know, but yes, yeah. Don't bring it when the Birds are playing. Come on, we wear the green. We suit up.
We've got 2 people in our law firm that are from Philadelphia, Philly.
Yeah.
And I know. So I had no idea. This is
right. When the suit jacket's on, we're professional.
Yeah, and you got the Rays blue on. So
right. Yeah, I represent. But moving from Philly, when there is, you have Citizens Bank Park. You have is it still called Wells Fargo Center? Wells Fargo and then the Link, right? You have all 3 stadiums right there. And there are times where there are 2 games happening at once. And it doesn't matter. And the Phillies, let me say, when you are in people who don't like Philly fans, it's because you're not a Philly fan. But if you're on the right side of the fence, let me tell you, it is magical. The energy that radiates throughout the entire city after a game lets out and we win, I mean, it's like no other. You walk into any store, restaurant, thing, you see someone wearing a jersey, and you're immediately fist bumping. You made friends with somebody you didn't even know them, right? Like, The culture is ridiculously strong. And I watched that happen on not as at that scale, but with the Rays. And I'm not even a huge baseball fan, right? But I see what it does for the city. And we could probably keep beating that horse, Doug. Obviously, it's above.
Until we can end the Groundhog's Day loop, we certainly can't keep beating that horse. But
yeah.
I hope it ends. I hope it ends.
I hope it does too. I'm really curious to see what happens. Hopefully, maybe this episode. Our that's what the purpose of this show is, to give a voice to, because this isn't my voice. Like this is. I talk to a lot of people. You talk to a lot of people. It's not just our opinions. We're hearing this from multiple sources. Many business owners here locally, many local fans, all the citizens of St. Pete, and what the Rays does for them. I mean, I'm losing my words here, because it kind of could be emotional when we see it leave to what's going to happen, because there's going to be a big lull, right? There's going to be a dead period.
Well, and I will say this. This is, again, just my speculation. So, first of all, I hope that the businesses learned from last year. I fear that they don't, because people have short attention spans. Because, okay, the businesses right now, what I'm hearing is things have been pretty good in and around the Edge District, with that revenue. But they need to keep in mind that this is 2 years, and then it may be gone. I speculate, and this is, again, pure speculation, I think if everything goes well in Tampa, they get approved. They're building a new stadium. I think it is extremely ambitious that that new stadium is built and ready to move in by 2029. My speculation is that we're going to have an extension of the lease minimum. But yeah, it's not 5 years. We're looking at 2 year really lease for the Rays. So could we get it to 5 years? I don't think that's unrealistic, but that still creates the problem of, hey,
because it's built, then the businesses are coming in and new things are coming in on false foundation, right?
Yeah.
And so for anyone who's building or considering doing anything, they're going, well, there's a lot of uncertainty, and we know people don't make moves in uncertainty with what's going on there. So we need clarity for the historic gas plant district, for the other districts, to really be able to plan. Because if I'm bringing a $100 million project in, but I'm not sure what's happening with the district next door, I'm not making moves.
And it makes it hard for the redevelopment too. And most of these RFPs have a option A and option B, Rays stay or Rays go kind of thing. But yeah, it makes it hard. I mean, the Rays Hines, I actually think the one problem I had with that is I think the stadium should have been on the other side. But yeah, I mean, so we're starting to build around a stadium, and now we can't move the stadium's location that well unless we know what we're doing ahead of time. So, and yes, the beauty of any of these projects is most of them are going to be 20-year projects. And so we're going to have construction jobs. We're going to have workers there. It will create economic impact.
That's a good point.
But how do we do this if the Rays stick around for 5 years? We don't necessarily know, are they going to extend another year? How do we plan effectively? And luckily, these RFPs, they spent hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on this stuff already. They've got teams to figure this stuff out, but it's hard.
They're smarter. They're smarter than me. But I think what all that, as you were saying, I go, we just need clarity. Yeah. That's all we want, right? We'll move on. We'll stop talking about this once we have some clarity, right? It'll be like we'll be the old guys talking about, I remember when, right? But it's fine. We just want clarity.
It's funny because in my actual profession, law, a lot of the clients just want clarity. They want their day in court, and they want a decision. Even a negative decision sometimes makes them happier than just not knowing.
Ambiguity is no good.
It's not.
Right? That's what keeps you up at night.
It's not good for business. It's not good. It's not good for anybody, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about your law practice here. What's your specialty? What's your favorite kind of law? Tell me about that. What's happening in the world of law, in Doug's world?
Yeah. So we have. So first of all, I've termed our firm a community law firm. So we say the law firm Douglas G. Jackson is a community law firm, and yes, I stole that term from the banks. I'm like, community banks. That's I think an important thing. I think it is important to be involved in the community, especially from a legal or justice perspective. I mean, I talk about this sometimes, that the thing I love about law and money so much, and it sounds greedy when I say it like this, but the thing I love about it is it's totally made up. It only works because we believe in it, right? I mean, a dollar has no value. You might be able to burn it and stay warm for a short amount of time. I mean, a credit card, what? We believe that these things have value. Law is no different, really, if you think about it. We, as a society, came together and said, hey, we need certain rules to function by if we want to be a good society, a good community, and we believe in them. And we say, okay, the court ordered it, so therefore it is, which I'm not saying stop believing. I'm not saying defy a court order.
You're speaking to the core of me and all.
Yeah, but there's something I think that's so magical about that notion is that we as a society choose to believe in it because it's good for community, it's good for culture. And so I said, okay, we're going to identify as a community law firm. Also, lawyers oftentimes get a bad rap, and I think that one of the reasons is we're not as involved in the community, and I speak generally, as I think we ought to be. And so, like, one of the things we do is our Business Education Network Ben workshop. We just did that. It's every third Thursday. So we put together a little conference. It's actually held in the Chamber boardroom. We have 4 different speakers to try to elevate business. We do every first Saturday of the month a beach cleanup at Pasa Grill at 8:30, because I think that without community, law has no purpose. Justice has no real value. So I think these are integrated. I don't think you can pull them apart. So getting back to kind of your question about what kind of laws do we practice, it's funny because everyone's like specialize, specialize, specialize. What I found when I started, and I did practice, a couple firms I worked for, they practiced one area each, and that was good, and I got bored. I'm a problem solver. I like always learning. So first year when I'm learning it, great. Second year, I was kind of like, okay. Then I've changed firms, same kind of thing. And one of the things I started realizing is that our clients, they didn't need, they came to us for a specialized problem perhaps, but they're humans. They don't need someone who just knows how to do one thing. They need someone who knows how to do a lot of things. And at the firm I was working for before I left to start my own practice, we would have clients that would call me up and say, hey, I need help with this. And yeah, we don't do that. Well, aren't you a lawyer? Yes, I am. But we don't practice that kind of law. Okay, what do I do? Well, contact this kind of attorney. I talked to him 6 months later. Hey, whatever happened? They're like, I don't know any other attorneys. So big business, really wealthy individuals, yes, they have attorneys on Rolodex who do specialized things. But for the most part, small business, medium-sized business, regular individuals, they need an attorney who can solve problems, because most of the time their problems aren't nicely categorized into a single area of law. Yeah, okay, if you get into a car accident, fine. Maybe, except that, okay, you might have a personal injury claim, but you might have a Social Security disability claim. You might have, if you're a veteran and you've got it aggravated something, you might have a veterans claim. You might have, now maybe you're disabled and they're not giving you reasonable accommodations at work. You've got an ADA claim. So these things, they tend to work really in tandem. My favorite area of law is actually dealing with businesses, small businesses. I studied economics. I majored in economics in college and minored in business. Then I went to law school, did all kinds of things. Didn't really think I necessarily cared about the small businesses until I started my practice. Then I'm very passionate about small business because what I realized is everything I learned is geared for bigger businesses. Small business, you kind of learn by trial and error. There's not a lot of good resources out there. You are oftentimes on an island by yourself until you start figuring out, I can get in the chamber, I can get involved in the Edge District, I can get involved in these things where I can talk to other business owners who are kind of my peers and going through the same types of things. And I realized that everything I learned about business law in law school is, again, really geared for the big businesses. Most of these small businesses, it's the Wild West out there. They don't have contracts. They're doing handshake deals. They don't know what they don't know. And it's terrifying.
It's actually so true.
Yeah, so I want to help the small business is really kind of my passion. But then, again, dealing with the small business and being an entrepreneur, there's no clear lines. You are your business, but your business colleagues are your referral partners, your prospective clients. They become your friends, and that becomes your social circle. And then you've got you're owning a business, but then maybe you've got a marital problem, you get into a car accident that affects your business. Everything is so interrelated that unless you're a really big business or really, really wealthy person, having specialized attorneys makes it almost more difficult because, and also what ends up happening, I've done this before where you refer it to one attorney, you refer it to another attorney, but the attorneys don't necessarily talk because they're so focused on what they do. So I like to call it a full service practice, or people might think of it as a general practice. So it's funny though, just to kind of add this, I love litigation. We have a strong litigation department. Joe Poltrone is doing a great job, and litigation is more fun, I think. Not for the people in litigation.
Right.
But one of the things, and Mark St. Louis, he's been in-house counsel for many years, and he does more of our transactional stuff. Because one of the things I learned about litigation where I started getting frustrated is, hey, if you guys would have come to us early and had us do the contract, we wouldn't be litigating this. The problem wouldn't exist. Like, come to us early. And so, yeah, we're also growing kind of our fractional general counsel practice at the same time. But, yeah, then again, we've got all kinds of different matters because people are people, and they're not just business owners. They're not just a family. They're not just a drunk who gets a DUI. Like, all of these things happen, and especially for entrepreneurs who are dealing with a lot of stress. They're dealing with a lot of financial uncertainty. So our practice is really kind of a holistic practice in a way, and I'm trying to actually make it, because people view attorneys as costs. And I'll wrap this up. I've been talking a long time. Again, you're probably like, this is the only podcast where I didn't speak at all.
No,
podcast.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
We use a method that I've called it the legal ladder method. It's kind of based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the idea, though, is that you're on different steps of the ladder. And even if you climb up the ladder, you might slide back down. So on our ladder, we talk about crisis as the first rung, stabilization, growth, and then legacy. And what we want to do, because I want to actually provide value for our clients, is we want to try to push you up the ladder as much as possible so we're not just a cost. Because when you really think about it, the wealthy people, the big businesses, they have lawyers. Why? It must be of value. I like to think of the law not as much of a shield, but as a tool. And that tool being the ladder to help you climb up. So that's the long explanation of
no, it's a
our
beautiful
practice
answer.
does.
It makes a lot of sense. I love, it integrates, everything we talked about in the beginning with community and how you want to serve the community. And in today's day and age, so many people are wearing so many different hats, so many small businesses here in St. Pete. And you're right, they need as you were saying that, I was like, oh, you're the multi-tool, right? In the attorney shop, and people don't know what they don't know. That's why they hire an attorney. Right. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, and then I have a network of other attorneys I know too. So, I mean, most things I think we are competent to handle. There are some things that we are not, and for those things, I'm going to connect you with the guy who does that, the guy or girl.
Right. Well, that's knowing your lane, right? Staying in your lane. Totally controversial, maybe right now of everything that's happened in law, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question just because of my passion for AI.
Yes.
How has AI changed the world of law?
Whew. Oh man, so AI is changing the world of everything.
For sure, I know in your industry specifically, being heavy contract based and language, which these are large language models.
Yeah.
Tell me what's happening, because I've heard, that you don't trust the AI model to write your contract.
AI right now has been great for our litigation practice, and it's because people, going back to the tool metaphor, AI is a power tool, right? Like, okay, we used to use hand saws and hammers to build houses. Now we use power tools. They are great. I wouldn't recommend you build a house without that. However, if you're using a power tool and you don't know what you're doing, you can cut off your hand. And that's
beautiful analogy.
That's what AI is, and that's what AI for law is.
Yeah.
And we incorporate AI, and it's cut down costs to our clients because we can do things faster, we can do things better, we can do things. However, AI gets stuff wrong, and if you don't know what you're looking for, and if you're not double checking it, it's going to get something wrong. I read somewhere that AI is kind of like a really ambitious first year associate, and they're going to try hard, and they're going to. And it wants to please you very bad to the extent where it makes up case citations. It makes up facts. It makes up things that don't exist. And so, yeah, for the businesses, and I run a little bit both ways because on the one hand, I think something written is almost better than a handshake deal. However, if you don't know what it says, which is part of the problem, they're like, oh, it sounds, and
I don't understand it, so
Yeah.
it must be good.
right, it sounds like legalese, so
Yeah.
it must. That can be worse,
Yeah.
right? Because now you're agreeing to something that you don't understand. At least with the handshake deal, you didn't agree to something you didn't understand. You might not have fleshed out the terms, and then it becomes he said, she said. But when you have something in writing that you sign that you don't understand, that can be very bad as well. So I think it's helped our litigation practice because people are using AI and then they're drawing up these contracts and then they get into a dispute. I will say, and AI scares me generally speaking for everybody because I think it's going to eliminate jobs faster than we can replace them. And when you look at spending, I think 80% is consumer spending. So where the jobs are getting cut are the lower level consumer type jobs that spend on the consumers. It's not going to be the business owners so much. It's not. I mean, the small business owners, yeah. The big businesses, whatever. But at some point, and one of the reasons I utilize AI, and I tell every small business you need to learn AI, is because if you don't, you are going to be left in the dust. Because there's going to come a time where AI does get pretty good at contracts. The other thing that I think we already try to differentiate ourselves on with the community aspect, but all businesses need to do this, is we're and COVID kind of pushed us towards this. There's a human aspect, right? And people love the human aspect. And it's something we've gotten away from for years and years and years. And I think the more we move to AI, the more people are going to be like, I like the in-person, talk to a human, authenticity about something. I mean, if you think about how like manufacturing, I mean, that's kind of the precursor.
We like handmade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think there's going to be, at some point, a little bit of a backlash. I mean, look, IKEA's all over the place, right? But I think that some of the handmade stuff, the actual intelligence, not the AI intelligence. I guess we need another acronym that both are AI, but
Artificial versus real.
yeah, real intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be something said about that. And litigation at this point, which is one of the reasons I'm really like, okay, this needs to be a bit of a focus area for us. Right now we have two people that are talking still, a judge and an attorney, whatever. It's still a human process. And I hope it's always a human making a decision about law, which is a human invention, right? Going back to the belief in it. I hope that never changes because I don't want law to be mechanical.
As you're saying all this, Doug, I'm going to the future, and I'm getting scared.
Me too.
Because things could become so black and white. Because you think of a machine that knows all the law. Because I'm thinking right now, you're talking about litigation or going to a trial. It's going to be AI versus AI. Who writes the better prompt and is using the better model to pull up the better cases that can fight the better case, and then it's on to the human element to present it well for now, right?
So I'm going to shoot from the hip a little bit here because I read a headline and I did not read the article, which is always a dangerous game and you shouldn't do this. Right. But I'm going to because it speaks so well to what you said. One of the Supreme Court justices, most of them are not very proficient in AI, is my understanding from the limited stuff I've read, but I think they're becoming more proficient. But someone did an analysis to project what the Supreme Court's decision was going to be, and it apparently was right most of the time. And this justice said, which is a little counterintuitive to me, I'm not sure it's the right approach, but this justice said we're far too predictable. I like predictability in law because, again, going back to certainty. So I don't know if that's the right answer, but it's interesting that AI is able to anticipate what a court or what different judges are going to do.
Of course, it's a pattern recognition tool.
Right.
It's the ultimate pattern recognition tool, and whether we believe it or not, the human behavior is just a sequence of patterns because we all just follow habits. And so once the if you're in an interrogation expert or a spy in the government, I'm looking to see what little twitch you have when you get excited or when you're lying. Did your nose flare? Like, I'm looking at all these
That's
little
not
things.
what this is, right?
No.
Okay. All right.
What I'm getting at is that when you have a machine analyzing pattern behavior of a human, it's going to learn us better than human to human, right? Because it doesn't get tired, doesn't make error, it didn't miss things.
Well, right now it makes lots of errors, which I like. But yes.
But I'm saying going forward,
No,
right?
it can compile data far better than any individual can. I mean,
and so I'm saying it's only coming into our world more, not less. And to your point about a power tool, right? Initially, first, right, instead of a hammer and nails, then you had a hand turn screwdriver. You had a speed handle, right? And then from the speed handle, you went to the power drill, and now there's all these other types of different fasteners. And we got welding and all this stuff, and so you just wonder, like, it is going to get better, which will be better for humanity. But at some point, are you going and you're facing the AI judge who's dictating what's going to happen, and how much of a human element is programmed into that AI? Or is it just black and white, this was the law, this is what happened, and there's no mercy? And that gets into a whole Plato philosophical thing of humans.
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you this, because we do a lot of veterans disability in our practice still. And I say still like we're changing that. We don't. I love helping the veterans, and we're going to continue growing that as well. But the VA is starting, because it's a little bit different. It's an administrative agency, which is its own thing. It's got a quasi-judicial system, so it's got veterans law judges that are actually hired by the VA. But before that, you get through several decision makers, most of which are not lawyers. And they're starting to use and implement AI to make decisions. And that scares me because, I mean, even what I know about AI, which is not a lot, but the prompt matters, right?
Prompt matters, and what it knows about you previous to the prompt.
Right. So you're saying about how I can't remember exactly what you said, but like, how did humans write the code essentially? And so, yeah, how did humans write the prompt? I don't know. I mean, and so this is going to be wild to me. And I think what's ultimately going to happen is, yes, it's going to make decisions faster. People like clarity, sure. But I think the way we have to do it is to really kind of pick up on keywords, I think, mostly. And so then, okay, can we figure out how to write the keywords so that, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it because it takes away the human element of what I think is a human invention. I think law is supposed to, it's created for humans. It's supposed to be human run. People think law is black and white. Those are the easy cases. I wouldn't have a job if it were, to be quite honest. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of reasonableness is the word we like. What does that mean? Well, because we don't want to paint everyone into a corner. We want to look at a case-by-case basis. And that's one of the nice things about humans. And that's one of the nice things about having different humans decide. Like, okay, you don't get to decide your judge, but you have different judges, right? And so there's a little, I don't want to say it's a game, but there is a bit of a chance element to it.
Life is a game.
Yeah.
It's all a game. It's all a game. And to your point of not black and white, and I'll say it's because it was just World Quantum Day, in case you didn't know. And
I didn't know that. What is this?
Quantum?
World Quantum Day?
Yeah, it was a couple days ago.
So it's just to recognize
quantum physics and
mechanics,
the study of quantum and then quantum computing and all the things that come with quantum. And if you want to just Google superposition in quantum, you'll quickly learn that there's, in the quantum world, which we are all made up of because it is the study of the super small. In quantum computing, they're making a qubit, which pretty much regular computing operates on zeros and ones. A qubit doesn't. It can be a combination of 0 and 1 at the same time. It literally lives in the gray area, which we don't like to think exists in the world of physics, but it turns out it does. That's the law, right? And so until like how it just gets.
All right, man. I got to ask you. You're into this. I'm flipping scripts on you. You got to tell me about the what is it? The split experiment.
Oh, the dual slit experiment.
Yeah, the dual slit experiment.
Okay.
And how? Because I'll just kind of preface this. I don't believe it. Primarily just because I don't want to believe it. But there's there's certain theories out here that we live in a simulation, right? And if a simulation can create a simulation, whatever. The dual slit experiment is scary because it does make it look like we live in a simulation. Like if you're playing a video game or whatever, it's only producing the graphics where it needs to produce, where you're visualizing it. The dual slit experiment looks very similar to that.
It does.
Where only if we observe it does it
change
does
behavior.
it render.
Does it change behavior? So it's a difference of if a photon is shot through, and I am not a quantum physicist. I am a entry-level kindergartner trying to figure out how the universe works, and I'm doing like a very terrible job at it, but I'm doing my best. If a photon was shot through a slit, right? So a beam of light. It's a matter of, does that show up on the other side on a sensor as a dot or as a wave function? And if it was a wave, it would make a pattern through it. And it changes whether you were looking at it or measuring it. It doesn't even have to be a physical observation from a human. It could be a measuring device. Or was it uninterrupted and it came through itself? It changes the behavior of what it does, which you're like, the act of looking up something, and this gets into like a kind of a meditative state, to back to your simulation idea of the act of observance changes behavior. And so it's like the whole thing of like perception becomes reality. And we're proving this with science on a quantum level. And so it goes back to the power of thought, is in my mind. I think Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, there's some it's not just woo-woo, there's physical science behind it at the quantum level, because literally when we look at light, it changes how it behaves. That's, without going too deep, and we'd be here for a whole nother hour, Doug. This is how Ryan spends his time when he's not thinking about real estate or St. Pete. Is my YouTube algorithm is filled with quantum consciousness and universe stuff. Because honestly, I look at it at the core of how we operate. And when we go back to Plato and law and the better things of society, we have to understand consciousness to be able to make those decisions.
Okay, so let me ask you the hard question, Ryan. We're flipping the script.
No,
here.
I love this. It makes for a better show.
Do we live in a simulation? Is this a simulation? Or is this real?
Elon Musk says the probabilities are greater that we do than we don't. And whether put politics aside, if you read Elon's book, I don't think you can judge someone until you dove deeper into their past life. If you read his book, you would understand he's a very, 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 very smart man. I think there's a great documentary on Netflix called A Trip to Infinity.
Okay, I haven't seen that. I haven't read Think and Grow Rich, and I'm actually putting together a book list because I read all the time, but I haven't finished a book in a long time.
All
so that's
the other business books are built off of that book,
okay.
So you got to go to the core.
All right.
A Trip to Infinity explains infinity, and infinity is so obtuse, so abstract that our little monkey brains are not going to understand it. And so when I watch some of the smartest people in the world talk to me about infinity, and it's kind of like there's animation, and they make it as fun. They make it fun. I've watched this documentary like 5 or 6 times. I think it's likely that there is a multiverse, and so if our universe is a depiction of another universe, then is that the simulation if it's built off of the other? I don't think we can use simulation in a way of like we're in a video game, but maybe. And I think as Elon's developing Neuralink, are you familiar with this at all?
A little bit, not much.
So he's got quadriplegic people playing Call of Duty using their mind. And we haven't tapped into the visual cortex yet. And I was just at Roche-Bobois sales gallery, and I did their VR experience of viewing a space. And even though that was elementary graphics compared to reality, it was very good. And my body felt so confused about where I was, especially when they told me to say, there's a wall in front of you, but in reality there isn't, so you can walk through that wall. I hesitated like I was going to hit my head, like hit my face on this wall. And so I can only imagine when we have a chip in our head that can take over our visual cortex and make things look in 8K or better, that we're going to be very confused about where we are. So with that chip coming, I go, man, it's kind of likely.
They've done experiments on this for a long time, psychological experiments, where they have it where you have your hand on a table, right? And then they put a dummy hand, and it looks like a dummy hand. It doesn't even, and then they put like a blanket or they put a divider so you can't see your actual hand. and they tickle the dummy hand with a feather at the same time they tickle your hand with a feather, right? And so you're watching the dummy hand being tickled with a feather, and your brain is being tricked to thinking you feel it. Then they take out a hammer, and they hammer the dummy hand, and everyone is terrified every single time. Right? You don't actually feel pain, but it's exactly what you're. So even without good graphics, this happens. So it's going to be kind of really wild when we're tapping into the brain.
Yeah, and so watching what's happening with that chip and what they're doing. So they're not just making the chip, they're building the infrastructure to be able to install these chips in us at scale without a doctor present. So it's like you get to the point to where, Doug, you're 75, 80 years old, maybe not, whatever. Your hips are out, you're losing your eyesight, you can't hear anymore, right? And they go, Doug, for $10,000, you can go put this chip in your head and it's safe. Millions of people have already done it. Just do it. Your eyesight will come back. You'll feel young and spry. You'll be great. Are you going to say no?
Oh, I mean, but I have this problem where I'm already adopting. I'm like, let's adopt AI. I'm scared of it, but let's adopt it.
But it's going to be, when people say, I'm not going to put the chip in my head, I go, put yourself in that scenario. There's already been millions of people that have done it. Your health is declining, and I'm saying I can make you feel like you're in your 30s again, and you just have to go through this hour-long procedure.
No one blinks an eye at putting a stent in if you need that. So I agree with you. Right now it seems scary, but yes, when a doctor tells you, hey, we can fix this, you're going to say, okay, I believe you.
Yeah, so it's going to it's already weird. I love having these conversations. I love thinking about the future. If we tie it all the way back to the historic gas plant district, it's like, how do you even build something of that's so many acres, almost 90 acres of land, and to see what the future is going to look like 30 years from now is like unpredictable because things are moving so fast. So we just got to throw a dart at the board and see where it sticks and say, yep, that's what we're doing.
It's funny because as a lawyer, I should care more about perfection maybe than I do. But I as a business owner, I certainly know that perfection is oftentimes the enemy of progress. And it is better to get started than not to. And I think if we can wrap our heads around that, we're going to be better. Excuse me, let me take a drink of water. We're going to be better as a society. I mean, one of the big problems I see right now is how divided we are. Mm-hmm. And if you really look at it, we want the same outcomes. We only disagree on how to get there. And rather than say, well, let's just press forward, we'll compromise and press forward, we trip up the other person and we don't make any progress.
Yeah, I hope the space race fixes that. I just watched the interview of the astronauts who just came back from going around the moon. Put conspiracy aside. Let's just, for the sake of this conversation, say we did it.
Unless it was a simulation.
Unless
we live in a simulation.
Which it is.
Yeah.
So
I think we did it.
So who cares? Even if we didn't land on the moon, let's say we did or didn't, but let's say that these astronauts that just went up on April 1st and just came back, that they actually saw Earth from a distance, at a distance that only a few select individuals in the world have ever seen, and they go, Earth is a spaceship. It is a drop of water flying through the sky.
Yeah.
We live on this thing. It is us and us. So I look at the greater thing of humanity, and I get I'm so grateful for the space program. I'm so grateful for the astronauts. I'm so grateful for this experience. And I think as we move towards going to space and building things on the moon and going to Mars, that we start to realize how precious Earth is, and we need to do more to take care of each other.
It's all about the perspective. I mean, he's talked about the quantum being really the study of the tiny. Mm-hmm. When you look at the universe, Earth is tiny. It's. I'm going to go really deep on you here.
No, go
because
there.
I sometimes I'm like, all right, well, let's play this out to the end, right? And I think that's a good way to make decisions. Except when you play time out until the end, because then you're like, okay,
nothing matters.
Nothing matters. That's exactly it, right? Earth is going to die. The sun's going to implode or explode, whatever. Nothing we do today matters. The irony of this is when I think about that. That is also the thing that makes every single thing we do matter. It makes this talk matter because if nothing matters, all we have to do is just focus on what we're doing now. Just live in the present, and really, it becomes. I hate to say this because I love facts, but it becomes what do you believe in? What makes you happy, and do that. And for me, I'll just kind of circle this back around. I think it's relationships because when I look at every single thing we do, it's for someone else. And so if nothing matters, but that makes everything matter, I think it's the relationships and the community that matter the most, because otherwise, what's the point at all?
I'll put a big bow on this for us, Doug. In that Trip to Infinity documentary, these are mathematicians, astrophysicists, physicists, all studying math, infinite. And you know what they say matters most at the end of the day? It's a 4-letter word: love.
Love? All right.
That's it.
I was hoping you were going to say that. There was another 4-letter word.
Yes, Doug. Love. Love is the only thing that matters. Back to that. And I have a huge love for this community. I can tell that you do as well. I ask every guest this. If it's your birthday, you're in St. Pete, where are we going to eat?
Oh man. That's a great question. So this is probably going to sound bad, but I do so much usually during the week, during meeting people. I end up going out way too much, which you can probably see from my waistline. But sometimes, a lot of times I like to not go out. So yeah, on my birthday, I might just say, let's make a nice meal and stay in. Last birthday, we went to Malio's on the beach.
Oh,
steakhouse. That was really good.
Yeah?
I do want to try Olivia. I haven't. Everyone's telling me Elliot Astor is the place you need to try. So
the ambiance is they crushed it. They crushed the thing. I've only been there once. I would definitely go back. Yeah, it's worth a special dinner.
Yeah. So no, normally I end up going out on my birthday, but where I haven't been to 4-2 either. That's supposed to be a really good one.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because there's so many options in St. Pete, and it's changing so much. And I guess my thing is that I like the change. I like the variety. I like trying new things. So I would have to think about that more. And this sounds bad, perhaps, but it depends on my mood too. So I
agree. Yeah.
Like right now, you caught me way off guard because I'm so deep in this we're talking about quantum physics.
I'm
and
like,
big
what are you
numbers.
hungry for?
Yeah. but yeah, again, it's the little things that matter. Live in the present.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I'd have to think about that more. I would love to try. I'd probably want to try a new place. That's probably what I would do. So I can't tell you. I mean, I think those are two different questions. I think you're kind of asking what's my favorite go-to. But you asked what I'd go on my birthday.
No, you took it very literally because we were having a very literal scientific conversation, which I can appreciate. So yes, what is your go-to? And it doesn't have to be anywhere fancy. I mean, I love Bodega. Bodega is one of my spots.
I shouldn't say this because I don't want to give it away. It's like my secret. But we often go to the Big Catch. A lot of people don't know about it. It's perfect, like Florida tiki, a little divey, but not really divey. And when you're there, like everyone who's there kind of knows everyone's off duty. So
Right.
it's a little bit like what happens at Big Catch stays at Big Catch kind of thing. No one's really So if
You don't got to worry about someone walking up on you and talking business.
So if anyone's watching this, don't try to go there to like cash me too casual, please. There's an unwritten code. You're welcome to come, but like don't come and
if he's saying that the flip flops are on, that's
you got to abide by the code, right?
I love it. That's amazing. Doug, man, we covered so much. I'm so grateful for everything you're doing for the city. Thank you for being the community attorney office. Thanks for what you're doing in the Edge District. This was an incredible conversation. A great way to be end of an era and opening for our next episode that we have. For the guests that have made it this far into the show, what's one word that they can comment below?
Guess who have made it this far into the show?
Yeah.
You know what? Comment community.
Community. Comment community.
Or you can also comment record, because apparently we just set the record for longest podcast.
Well, I have to check. It's going to be close. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, the best way, I'm going to stick with the community, right? So, I mean, look, if you need legal help, call my office, 1-800-704-6045. But to really get in touch with me, attend some of our events, I mean, we talked about it. Go to our website, www.getyourlegalaction.com. We have an events page. I like to believe I don't know if it's true, but I like to believe we're one of the only law offices with an events page. And we talked early in the podcast here. We have a beach cleanup and we have our business education network workshop. Or join the Edge. I tend to go to most of those events. I'm trying to represent as the president. Join the St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce. Honestly, what I find the most rewarding is people who not just love the city, but do something to try to improve it, because that's what it's all about. And I will tell you that the people who get my referred business don't tend to be people who just tell me about themselves. They tend to be people who put some mission, like helping the city, above their own, because then I can trust them to, if they can put aside their own self-interest for something else, then I trust them to take care of one of our clients.
Beautiful.
All right,
Beautiful.
Ryan, before we go, I want to thank you and for having me on the show. One of the things we do, which is a little kitschy, I did this this is our 5th edition. We do a different set of swag sunglasses every single year.
So cool.
And it's funny. It started this controversy. Now people are like, I like the 23s better than this version. And so people talk about it.
Okay.
But what I realized is that you can never have too many sunglasses in St. Petersburg.
This is true.
In Florida.
This is true.
Stick it in your car. You're going to forget it. You're going to have a guest in your car that forgot it, whatever. So I wanted to give you a pair as a minor token of appreciation.
These are styling, and they match the fit today.
Yep.
So
here, I'll put mine on too. We can end the show looking.
We should have wore
stylish.
these all episode.
We should. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I love it. I love it. Let's look at the main camera, because this will be our picture for the start of this one. I really dig that. Well, Doug, I really appreciate you, everything you do, and can't wait to stay connected and see what happens in the city.
Right. My pleasure.
Grateful
Ryan.
for you. Yep.
Grateful for you.
If you're still here, like, comment, share with a friend. Go visit, what was it, getlegalaction.com?
Getyourlegalaction.com.
Getyourlegalaction.com. Go to one of the events. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you, and we love you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.